All right, let's dive in. If you think you've got a handle on who's buying houses in America right now, well, you might want to think again. We've got some fascinating new data that shows the old rulebook for the U.S. housing market. It's been completely tossed out the window. The entire game has changed.
So I want you to do something for me. Just take a second. Who do you see? You know, the typical American home buyer. Is it maybe a young couple, late 20s, excited about their first starter home? Yeah? Okay, hold that picture in your head, because we're about to find out if it's even close to reality anymore.
You know, for decades, there's been this classic story, the one we all know about how the housing market is supposed to work. It's a narrative we've all heard a million times, and to be fair, for a long, long time, it was pretty much true.
Yeah, this was the accepted wisdom, right? The market was all about young, first-time buyers. They were the engine, making up a huge piece of the pie. You'd buy a starter home, climb that property ladder, move every 5 to 7 years for a better job. And that first down payment? Oh, that often came with a little help from mom and dad. That was just how it worked. Until, well, it stopped working that way.
Okay, so let's get into it. Reality check number 1. We're going to pull back the curtain here, because the shift in who is actually buying and selling homes today, it's not some tiny little trend. No, this is a massive, fundamental shakeup of the entire market.
And get this one single fact just blows that whole young buyer story right out of the water. It's the baby boomers. Yeah, that generation who are now the single largest group of both buyers and sellers. Not millennials, not Gen Z. They're the ones driving the bus, and a big reason why is because, frankly, they're in a much stronger spot financially.
And this number just nails the point home. 62. Just let that sink in. That's the median age of a repeat home buyer. So what that means is half of all the people buying their second or third or even fourth house are 62 or older. So what about those first-time buyers we pictured earlier? Well, their median age is now 40. 40. Not 28, 40. I mean, just think about what that means. We've got a whole generation out there renting for years and years, long past the age when their parents were already homeowners, building up that equity.
And here's where it gets really crucial. This age shift has had a massive impact on the market itself. I mean, historically, first-time buyers were something like 40% of all sales. Today, that number has been cut almost in half. It's cratered to a historic low of just 21%. We're talking about a fundamental change to the very engine of the housing market.
Okay, reality check number 2. So, if people are buying homes later in life, does that change how long they stay? Let's tackle that old myth that everyone's moving every few years. Just look at how this has changed over time. Back in the 90s, yeah, you'd stay put for about 5 to 7 years. By the 2010s, that stretched to 9 years. But today, people are staying in their homes for an average of 11 years. That's the longest it's ever been. And here's the kicker. The plan for today's buyers is to stay for 15 years. The whole idea of a starter home is just, well, it's kind of fading away.
And for a huge chunk of buyers, we're talking nearly a third of them, it's not even a long-term plan. It's the final plan. They're buying what they call their forever home. They have zero intention of ever moving again. So this isn't just about buying property, it's about putting down roots for good.
All right, on to reality check number 3. Let's talk about the money. Because how people are paying for these houses has changed just as dramatically as everything else we've talked about.
Remember that idea of getting a gift from mom and dad for the down payment? Well, you can pretty much toss that one out. Today, the vast majority of first-time buyers, 59%, are digging into their own personal savings. Another 26% are using other financial assets. The gift from family? Yeah, it happens, but it's definitely not the main story anymore.
And it's not just the first-timers either. The repeat buyers, they are bringing some serious cash to the table. We're talking a typical down payment of 23%. That is the highest it's been in more than 20 years. It just goes to show you the financial firepower this older group of buyers has. But you ready for this? This next number is the real jaw-dropper. 30%, 1 in every 3 home sales was an all-cash deal. Think about that. No mortgage, no financing, just cash. Can you imagine trying to compete with that if you need a loan? It's an incredibly tough environment.
So you might be asking, where is all this money coming from? Well, this number right here is a huge piece of the puzzle. Just in the last 5 years, the average homeowner has gained over $140,000 in wealth. That's purely from their home's equity. You know, the value of their house minus what they still owe. That's a lot of financial power.
Okay, so let's put it all together.
We have older buyers, they're more financially stable, and they're planning on staying put for a really long time. So, what does that do to the reason people move in the first place? What's the number one motivation now?
Well, it wasn't that long ago that it was all about the job, right? I mean, more than half of all moves were because of a job. Today, that number has taken an absolute nosedive. It's down to just 31%. The old economic reason? It's not number one anymore.
So what is the new number one reason? It's something much more personal. It's about being closer to family and friends. People are moving to be near their community, their support system. We've literally shifted from a decision driven by spreadsheets and salaries to one driven by the heart.
So there you have it. That's the new real estate playbook in a nutshell. The players are older and they're way more financially established. They're buying for the long haul. These aren't stepping stones. They're doing it with their own savings, not a handout. And the old mantra of location, location, location being about a job, now it's all about connection to community. That is the new reality.
And that leaves us with one last question to chew on. After seeing all this complete rewrite of who's buying, why they're buying, and how they're paying for it, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? In a market that has changed this radically, what old rules are we still clinging to?